Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, June 6th, 2025. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and of course I am here every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And where I spend my lunch break with you and hopefully bring some information that might be of importance to you, the listening public. Of course, as we get started, let me recognize those who are with us in terms of the various parishes here on the island of Nevis. Of course, the whole of Nevis listens to Von Radio. It is the only option that is available in terms of public radio station. And in terms of down there in St. Kitts, I know we have a large following down there as well. I want to say good afternoon to all of our brothers and sisters down there in St. Kitts. Of course, going further afield, Sabre, Statia, St. Bart's, of course, and French and Dutch St. Martin, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the whole of the United States, starting way up north of in New Hampshire and Vermont, and those states in the northeast, going down into the south in Florida, going across the whole United States is the heartland of the United States, that is Texas and Nebraska and those places where we have our citizens who are there, students and living there as well, indeed, all the way over to the western flank of the United States, California, Oregon, Washington State, up there in the north west, yeah? So I've covered the whole United States, of course, the entire Canadian, that stretches from east to west, including Toronto, the city of Toronto, and Quebec, and Montreal, and Saskatchewan, and all those cities and provinces that have some of our citizens living there and working there. Up in Europe, you're talking about United Kingdom, France, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, all over Europe where we have our citizens. I say good afternoon to you, and of course over in Asia, but more particularly the Republic of China, Taiwan, where we have quite a number of citizens who are there going to school and also working there and hopefully visiting as well, because Taiwan is one of our largest or one of our best friends over there in Asia. So I say good morning to all those who are listening there. Okay, so we've covered the entire globe. I want to come back home now and say here on Nevis, it is a lovely day outside right now. But before I get to the weather, let me just express condolences to all those who are in the bereaved column today and who have lost perhaps a family member, a friend, a loved one, whatever the case might be. We share in your grief, and we are asking the Lord to provide some level of comfort during these difficult times. And indeed, I don't have anyone in particular on my list, but of course there must be a family or two or more who are grieving at this time, and we share a part with you. Where there is grief and sorrow, there is also time for enjoyment, and of course some persons must be celebrating today, and I want to wish those of you who are celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, or any special occasion, let me just wish you all of the best, and hopefully you can enjoy this day to the fullest. And as I've always said in the past and continue to say, when you're celebrating, celebrate as if it's the last. But we wish you many more years of celebrations. And indeed, I just want to jump one day ahead and wish this special person, who is Junella Burke, from over there in the Madden's Housing Development, a happy birthday when it comes tomorrow. I think I saw that popping up on my screen somewhere, that tomorrow is Junella's birthday. Of course, I know this young lady as well. I work with her for a little bit down there at TDC. Lydia Allen up there at Victoria Road. I think I saw her the other day in the supermarket as well and said hello to her. Lydia, happy birthday when it comes tomorrow as well to her. And then on Monday, I think I'm seeing Nelsia Jones. She now lives down there at the Craddock Road of the Mountain Crescent Housing Development, just in the vicinity of what's his name there, Franchette Manor's business place, Zone 1 Auto. Just that nice little housing development there, beautiful houses. Well, Nelsie have a beautiful one inside there as well, and she'll be sitting on her porch on Monday, I'm sure, and sipping a glass of wine and enjoying herself. Enjoy your birthday when it comes, Nelsie. And also my good friend and cousin Alexis Jeffers is celebrating on Monday as well. Alexis, hopefully I can see you on Monday and wish you happy birthday in person. It is always good to do so. And of course, next week I won't be here until next Friday, God's willing. So my good friend down there at Box Hill, Winston Fifield, not Fifield. Yes, I think Fifield is one of his title surname, but Winston Hobson, I know him as. But anyway, on the streets of Nevis, we know him as Atta. Yeah, a guy who is into beekeeping and fishing and all of those challenging stuff, but he enjoy doing them. Yeah, Atta, I see here Tuesday is your birthday. Happy birthday when it comes, and hopefully I can see you before then as well, yeah? To wish you happy birthday in person. I know the person you are, you're going to have a wonderful time. And of course, next week, Tuesday as well, I believe, my friend Chevy, Mighty Chevy, is celebrating his birthday. So it's good to recognize these persons. There are many more persons who will be celebrating, and I want to wish all of you a happy birthday. But these were on my list for today and going into early next week. So I want to wish everyone well. Okay, I was speaking about the weather, and of course we are now into the hurricane season, as I mentioned last week, and you'll be hearing a lot about the hurricane season as we go along, because there are things that happen throughout the period of time between January 1 to November 30 when the season ends. But of course I am mentioning this because it is always good to remind ourselves that we are in the hurricane season, so as to eliminate any sense of complacency that might step in, because you might have tranquil weather, nice weather today, and then tomorrow it's another case. Because just before I got here, we had a heavy shower, of course. So that is how the weather works sometimes. Right now the sun is out in all its glory, and we appreciate that, because that is consistent with the Nevisian weather that we are accustomed to. But just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your eyes to the east, because that's where most of the storms, 99% of the storms, comes from the east. So you'd want to see what is coming off of the African coast and heading towards us. And we're praying and hoping that this year will be one that we hear about the storms but don't experience. Yeah? We want them to take a trek either north or stay out in the ocean and stay away from us. And that would be a good thing. That would be God's hands at work. And so we're hoping to have as tame as possible a hurricane season. Even though the pundits are saying that it would be an above average one. And what they mean by that, we'll have quite a number of named storms, and some will turn into hurricane and so forth. So we're praying and hoping that even though these are the predictions, that we will not see them coming our way. But we continue to pray and hope, yeah? And we leave it as that for now. Okay, so moving right along, someone sent me a text earlier and said I should remind the general public to be very much careful about what they do on the road in terms of littering. That is the point, littering. Someone did mention that between the points of Newcastle or the Van Samry International Airport and down to Oali, there are a lot of food containers, cups, and beer bottles, wine bottles, tires, and all sorts of different type of things have been thrown out of persons' cars or vehicles. And there are cases where persons might just dump things like tiles and other construction material along the side of the road, especially going down towards Lovers Lane and even going up towards Cattle Church. Cattle Church, for example, is a historic site. And that is where most of our visitors would go to, get a taste of our history. The first church that was constructed here on the island of Nevis. So that is a popular place for our tourists to go, either on their own or taxi operators will take them there. Now imagine going to these destinations and you see a pile of garbage along the way. It is not becoming of us, and it's not consistent with what we preach here on the island of Nevis. I will say, just this morning I was with some family members and they were in awe of Charlestown in terms of its cleanliness, how clean Charlestown is, and they compared it to Bastia because that's where they were coming from. And it warmed my heart. It warmed my heart to hear them say, listen, Charlestown is so clean. Nevis is such a clean place compared to other places that they have gone to. I just said they mentioned Bastia. I don't want to get into the back and forth with Bastia and Charlestown, St. Kitts and Nevis. Both islands which make up this country should be just as clean, equally as clean. And that is why when we hear of these things happening, I know we can do better. And I know we will do better, because we just have to continue to beg and beseech of our people to be as conscious as possible about our surroundings and understand that every bit of debris that is thrown out of our vehicles can end up being a major environmental hazard when it's all said and done. It is unsightly, but it also creates difficulties for our ecosystem, for our environment. And so we want to be a brother's keeper. We want to be the one who are considered to be the caretakers of this, our blessed island and our blessed country. And so what we do can have serious long-term effects. And so I'm begging and beseeching. I spend some time on it for a reason, because I myself, when I drive around and I see the wonderful and cleanliness of our island, we are always happy to see. And that is why we boast of being the best island in the region, the best island in the world. And that is why we have this tagline, Nevis nice, and Nevis naturally beautiful, naturally clean, naturally, pristine, or whatever you want to say. But we want to be able to speak boastfully about our island, and we can only do so if we all play our part to keep this island clean. I know we are always boastful about Nevis and want to make sure that the visitors who come here meet a beautiful island, but it must be beautiful for us as well as citizens and residents, yeah? And we can only do so if we all play our part to keep Nevis clean. So I thought I'll just impart that, and thanks to the person who would have sent me that text for the reminder to mention this, and I believe that person can also take credit in getting the word out, because I'm sure she's also doing likewise and playing a part. And while I'm at that, let me mention Julie Wilkin up there in Newcastle. We all know Julie Wilkin. She's one who I would see on a given day with her black, garbage bag going on down the side of the road from Newcastle Airport or Van Samry International Airport all the way down to Catalang Part, as we normally say. She'd do that. And that is her community service. She do that on a regular basis along with her sister Omel up there at the airport as well. They do that, and many of us can certainly do likewise, but we should not have to do it. And why I say we should not have to do it, because the garbage should not be there in the first place. But it is what it is, and we just have to play our part, as Julie and Omel would do, and as the person would have sent me that text would have done. We have to continue to have a level of consciousness that we have to keep our surroundings clean. Okay, so that is just a few words on that, and hopefully we can see a difference as we go along. Let's take care of our island. Let us be boastful, and let us be as cognizant as possible as to what is happening around us. Okay, good. Let's move on from there. I will spend a few minutes on this particular activity that we are having up there in Brick Hill, right in the heart of Brick Hill, come Monday the 9th of June, which is Whit Monday. Over the past couple of years, we have had what we dub a medical fundraiser on Whit Monday. We started in 2022, and we had one in 23, 24, and now 25. We are at it again. We have had a number of recipients of the donations that we've made, and of course I will say those donations have certainly made a difference in the lives of those who would have been the recipient of those funds. So this year we have identified, I believe 4 persons who will be the recipients of our effort. And indeed, on Monday, we start up there at about 6 a.m. with breakfast. So we're saying we're having breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner. So breakfast will be from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then thereafter, between 10 a.m. to midday, we are having brunch, which most of us know brunch is that period of time or that section or segment between lunch and breakfast. So we call it brunch from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And then from 12 noon onwards to somewhere around 4 p.m., we'll have lunch. As a matter of fact, I'll back up and say if you come there at 10 a.m. or maybe 9 a.m., you might be able to get lunch as well then, because food will be available. I'm hoping breakfast is sold out by that time, because breakfast, for example, will include saltfish, johnny cake, breakfast sausage, pancakes, the usual green salad, and also what else we having for breakfast? Eggs. Did I say that? Sure, that would be breakfast. But of course, like I said, I believe food items will be there early. So if you want food, you'll get food as early as possible. Of course, the usual bush tea and drinks as well will be available. And then for lunch, of course, we have a large menu to choose from. The relish type would be oxtail, baked chicken, fried chicken. We'll also have ribs, spare ribs that is. We'll also have stew pork, stew mutton. Yeah, that's 6 different meat types. Oh, fish. I forgot fish. We'll have some mahi as well. So we'll have a large spread available to you. We'll have the usual rice, seasoned rice and peas. We'll have scallop potato. We'll have macaroni pie that is. We'll have some breadfruit cheesy, I hope, or breadfruit salad. We'll have the usual green salad as well. So it will be, an embellishing type of lunch for you. And that would go all the way down to 4 o'clock. And of course, we'll have a grill there as well, grilled chicken and grilled ribs or grilled fish, or whatever the case might be. But we'll have some goat water as well. We'll have goat water from the fountain area. My man Cabo is cooking a pot of goat water, and of course we'll have some goat water being cooked in Brick Hill as well. So it will be a chance to taste both. Yeah, see what it's like from Cabo and see what it's like from Roy and his people there in Brick Hill. I don't want to get into too many names this afternoon, because I have made the pledge that by next Friday, God's willing, I'm going to come and perhaps spend the entire show to recognize each and every one and each and every organization or entity that have contributed thus far and continue to contribute to this particular event. It has been a phenomenal journey in terms of getting persons to contribute, and we want to thank everyone thus far for their effort. I want to also send out the appeal that anyone who want to come and contribute their time and effort on a Monday to serve in the stalls, meaning for breakfast, lunch, brunch, lunch, and dinner, to come on out and lend your support. We need all hands on deck, so to speak, because we're there all day. And of course, some persons won't be able to carry the weight and the burden all day. So we want persons to be coming in and going home, getting a little rest or taking a shower and come back and contribute their time accordingly. Also, in terms of the entertainment, we have confirmed thus far. Lalbo would be there, DJ Lalbo that is. DJ Zimba will be there. Frank and Snowflakes and the boys will be there. Of course, the Sugar Hill String Band, it will be there. Indeed, Speedy will be there to entertain the crowd, as well as Itebulous will be there as well. And of course, the major act that evening will be the Grandmasters Band out of St. Kitts. They're coming. So we're going to be outside, again, as they say, counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and from 8 come down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever they normally sing. I know what they're singing, All I'm concerned about is the music. The music does sound good, and the music will sound good up there on Monday evening. So I'm inviting one and all to come out and patronize the bar, patronize the food stall. Every penny that you spend there will be welcomed, because it would go towards a worthy cause in terms of defraying some of these medical expenses that the recipients will have to undertake as they go along the road of recovery, that is. So that is for Monday, the 9th of June. Come and spend your holiday with us. Yeah? Okay, I think I've covered quite a number of things there with that particular event. So we'll move on to other things. But I want to see everyone, even if you just stop by to purchase something, that would be welcome. If you want to spend some time with us, come and do that, because we'll have some a domino table there for persons to play. Some dominoes, and indeed other things will be happening there. But the camaraderie and the spirit and the togetherness is what we're trying to build there on that given day, on Monday, so that we can raise some funds to help some of our persons who need that help. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So let us move on quickly. Indeed, at this point of the show, when it comes to the at least this first or second Friday in the new month, normally we would get into the numbers over there at Uwali Water Taxi Facility. And some persons may not like to hear me every time I come here, but I love giving this data, because with this data we can say whether we are moving ahead, we are just stagnant, or we are retrogressing. But as far as I'm concerned, every month I come here with numbers that demonstrate and show that we are progressing, not retrogressing. And we are not stagnant at all, but the activities over there at the Uwali Water Taxi Facility continue to be robust in many ways. People are using the facility, people are using the service, and the numbers are bearing out that in its entirety. So for the month of May 2026, what we are showing here is that 23,418 passengers would have used that facility. Yeah, the numbers continue to grow, because last year, May 2024, 23,011 passengers would have moved through that facility. So there is a difference of just about 407 passengers, an increase, that is, of the passenger movement. For passengers, a million in anything, well, they call people millionaires. So that is a plateau where some people seem to, pursue. Some people work towards reaching that plateau to say they're a millionaire, and that means they have some money. Well, we're not talking about that type of thing here now. We're talking about 1 million passengers, which translate into millions of dollars, not just a million, millions of dollars for everyone who are involved. And that is why we speak sometime of the multiplier effect of something. This particular project is what we dub a revenue generating project that has certainly transformed transport between the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, and have really played a major part in terms of the economic value that it has brought to this particular sector. And of course, when you invest in infrastructure such as this, the Uwali Water Taxi Facility, that is an investment in our economy, that is an investment in our people, and in an investment in the country as a whole, because the entire country is benefiting. You see, one of the things I realize is still the case here is that there have been this talk out there by the NRP who seem to be obsessed with this particular facility and this particular project. You know, I hear them the other day, and it's a pity I have to go off on this tangent, really. But I hear them the other day saying, this CM should have gone up by Uwali Hotel and reconstructed that pier, renovated the pier, and keep the pier right there. And I said to myself, how myopic can one be? That is when people lack vision and they lack the common sense to guide the development process in an island or in a country. Because I can say to the entire Nivision public that when we had that consultation up at the Franklin Brown Community Center, it would have been somewhere about 2016, I believe, when we were moving towards the construction of this facility. No other persons, and none better than the Yarwoods, would have gotten up and said that they are happy for this development simply because the security of their guests at the hotel is being compromised and was being compromised, and they wanted to get out of that particular type of business where persons are coming through their facility 10 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night, 1 o'clock in the morning. That is where the difficulty was for them. And they got up, and I know some persons who were there They're on the radio every day talking and every night talking, and they heard the Yarwood say that. And it was music to my ears, because many persons came there hoping that there would have been some objection to it by the Yarwoods. And the Yarwoods were in their wisdom, would have come there and they laid it out, and they did say that this particular facility would be a major plus for them and for the island of Nevis. And so we went about constructing this facility. And listen, I will say this to everyone out there, that if the NRP, for example, had any intentions of building any facility of this sort, they probably had more than enough opportunities to do so. But I'm going to touch on that. But back to this facility. Since it has been built, we have bought lands from the Yarwoods, and they were kind enough to sell us lands at $4.75 right over there at Oali, so that we can get additional parking. So it therefore means the support have been there. Yeah. So with this talk that we're hearing from the NRP, I believe they need to move along to something else, because that facility has really done what it was intended to do, and that is to eliminate the challenges and difficulties that was being faced by the neighbors there at Oali. And of course, this has certainly lent itself to progress over there in that area. But I was saying that if, for example, the NRP and its leadership had any foresight, there was an opportunity for the NRP to actually build a similar facility, you know. You see over there where this car ferry is located, the sea bridge, all those lands were crown lands. They had belonged to the government and the people of Nevis. But lo and behold, sea bridge, the facility was built for the sea bridge, built by a private entity. But the point I'm making here is that if the NRP in their wisdom then had understood what development was going to take place over there in the peninsula, the southeast peninsula. Those of us who know about the peninsula over there, it was built somewhere around 1989, thereabout. You know, through the 90s, there was talk about the peninsula and what the potential was like over there. And the NRP was in government, and they knew back in 2006 and thereafter that development was coming. You see the Park Hyatt over there? I believe grounds were broken somewhere around, or, well, I don't recall the exact date and year when the grounds were broken, but I know for sure, leading up to somewhere around 2011, thereabout, there were talk about this particular development coming. And I said to myself, what if the NRP had gone about constructing a water taxi facility down there at Cades Bay? What if they had secured that particular area and say, you know what? We want the people of Nevis to benefit from whatever development comes to that southern side of St. Kitts. Because you think about persons down in the Bay and all the way in the northwest, and how they can benefit from a development on Southeast Peninsula. We have to say Nevis and Nevisians stand more to gain by accessing the development that is taking place there on the Southeast Peninsula. Some may say it's on St. Kitts. Yes, it's on St. Kitts. But it's right next door, a couple miles away. And so if they were thinking and they had the wisdom, we would have had multiple car ferries by now. We'd have had multiple water taxi operators who are now operating, but then back then that would have been the case. Multiple opportunities for employment. The multiple effect would be there, and the multiplier effect would have been there. Multiple things would have been happening a long time ago. But you see, someone said to me the other day, you know, NRP stands for Nevis Reformation Party. They said that NRP really stands for Nevis Republican Party. And why they say that is that the NRP has always been about the 0.01% who support the NRP, who they think are the big wigs in the party, and they are the ones they want to see excel. But we know on the CCM, or in the CCM, we think about everybody, everyone. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, or not so rich, not so poor, everyone here on the island of Nevis becomes the interest of the concerned citizens movement. And that is why we always say this is a party that put people first. And that is why when we sat down around the table and we thought about what development can we bring to ensure that our people can access all of the investment that are taking place there on this peninsula. And keep in mind, there there are points there on the peninsula, over in the Turtle Beach area, whatever you call it. They use a 469 access code, you know. We use it here in Nevis, and right over there, Turtle Bay or Turtle Beach, they use 469 as well, so they are part of us as far as I'm concerned. So how can you access these development and make sure people are benefiting? And so we came up with this Wally Water Taxi facility, and of course there are workers who were trained at Four Seasons, who are now working at Park Hyatt, who have managerial positions over there, making their money, contributing to the development of that particular institution, contributing to the development of Nevis with the salaries and wages that they bring back to Nevis. They are contributing. Of course, there are persons who go further into St. Kitts to work. Of course, there are persons who leave St. Kitts and come to Nevis to capitalize on the opportunities that are available here, simply because we have made that trek across the waters much easier with this particular development. And nowadays, you know, people come to Nevis just for dinner. They leave St. Kitts at 6, have a dinner, and by 10 o'clock they're back in St. Kitts. There was a point in time you want to come to Nevis for an activity, you have to find somewhere in Nevis to stay overnight. But you come, participate in whatever activity, and you're back in St. Kitts. By the same token, you go down to St. Kitts, and at some point in the night, you're back in Nevis. So we have done this because we understood what the long-term development was like in terms of having such a facility to facilitate the type of development that we anticipated and the type of development that we would like to see here on the island of Nevis, and by the same token on the island of St. Kitts and in the Federation on a whole. So I can only speak glowingly about this particular development, and the same way that the NRP would speak negatively about it, call it down to the lowest degree, the same way they do with everything in Nevis anyway. And that is what they do. They just huff, puff, and cuss. And that is why we continue to bring a positive word to the people of Nevis, because positive things are happening. Of course, there are so many opportunities for employment here on the island of Nevis. And indeed, while I touch on that, there are certain employment opportunities that Nevisians are not applying for right here on the island of Nevis. And I want the people of Nevis to understand that when the government go out and seek out opportunities, when opportunities come to the island of Nevis, when there are entities and companies here on the island of Nevis that are putting out these requests for application to various jobs, seek them out and go and apply. Because we want to ensure that our people are getting these opportunities. They are available to us. They are available to you. Grab them once they are available. And I hate when I hear that no Nevisians are applying for this particular position or that particular position. It doesn't mean that we don't have the qualification to do so. It exists, but for some reason, or people are shying away from some of these opportunities, and they are available. They are available. And listen, once you live here, whatever happens here, it is supposed to be taken advantage of by you and all of us. So continue to do so. Don't worry with the naysayers out there, you know, because there are some people who prefer to see nothing happening, as they're saying, when in truth and in fact it is not so. But they continue to have that nothing is happening because they want to have an issue to run on in an election. But lo and behold, completely the opposite is happening. And every time they come with something negative, positive things are happening. So if you can get 2 jobs, go ahead and work the 2 jobs. If you can do 3 jobs in a given day, more power to you. Because I will tell you what is happening now. For years, there have been the opportunities out there for persons to have multiple jobs. Yeah? And of course, if those persons can come from Dominica, St. Vincent, Jamaica, Guyana, wherever our Caribbean brothers have come from, and they can work 2 and 3 jobs and get it done and accumulate the resources necessary to send their children to school, to buy land, to purchase a home or build a home, pay their mortgage, pay their expenses, do whatever they can do with those resources. It's the same way we can do that as Nevisians. It's the same way we can do that because we were born here, we live here, we understand the climate here, we understand the terrain, and we can certainly do that. If they can do it, we can do it too. So we must not sit by and wonder what is happening around us. Make things happen. And do not let anybody out there with their negativity dissuade you from pursuing your goals. Because some of them who are talking, they cannot do anything different than what they're doing, because they themselves, time have passed them by. And when I said time have passed them by, they have more behind them than what is in front of them. And so they are all about negativity, because a lot of times they are unable to do anything different, so they just resort to negativity. I just want to bring a positive word, because the climate here in Nevis is one that lends itself to progress. Progress. We have gone beyond the stage of pain, pressure, and poverty that we had under the NRP during the years of 2006 to 2013. That was when we had the most pain, pressure, and poverty. We now have some level of progress. There are good things happening on the island of Nevis, and of course, we want you to partake of it, take advantage of it, and do not let anyone put any negativity in your head. Those of you who are coming out of school, you may not get the job that you have in mind to start with, but do something in the meantime. I always refer to myself, because when I came out of sixth form, for example, to start with, Mount Nevis was being constructed at that time. I went up there and worked construction. That was back in 1987, 88, somewhere back there. I went and worked construction. You see, I went home with my hands all blistered and everything, nipping tiles. You know, the tiles you put on the walls up there, if you wanted to cut a piece to fit in somewhere. I was up there cutting tiles. And I remember when we were pouring the swimming pool one evening, we worked until 10 o'clock in the night and still had to be back there on the job by 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock the following day. You know, but I had a grandmother who was always there to push me and tell me, Alexis, get up and go. Get up and get out the house and go and find something to do. And that is what I want our young people to understand. Even if you have to start in construction, you start in construction until you get to the teaching job or to the other job that is available. But do not sit down and wonder, when is the next opportunity going to come? The opportunities are there. It's just that the opportunity may not be exactly what you want at this point in time. But you must partake and you must get out there and do something so as to help us to develop this lovely island of ours. Nevis is on the cusp of development, and we're going to get there. Okay? So I just thought that I'll impart that, because, you know, sometimes you come with a planned program, but you digress a little bit, or you go on to a different topic. But the bottom line is, and what I'm trying to impart here this afternoon, is that opportunities are available in Nevis, in construction, in well, the civil service may have some work, but also in the service industry. And there are many persons out there who are starting their little business, whether doing a little bit of manicure or pedicure, whatever you call it. Let's call it healthcare, or in the beauty care business. Of course, over the past couple of weeks, I've had two young ladies here who have said to us that they have always been looking for opportunities, and they have sought to grab every opportunity that comes their way, whether in entertainment, whether in the food business, whether it's in beauty care. They laid it out here for you over the past couple of weeks. And there was a reason why, or there are reasons why I brought them here, because I wanted them to tell their story. And their story is consistent with the Nivision story. And the Nivision story is that we've always worked hard wherever we are, whether here in Nevis, whether in the Virgin Islands, whether in St. Martin, whether in the United States. Nivisians have always roll their sleeves up, pull up their boots, particular topic, because we got some monies from the SIDF for that particular facility and many other things here on the island of Nevis. Yeah, but prior to us getting these funds, you know, we never heard anything coming out of the NRP about fair share or fighting for fair share or anything like that, you know. As a matter of fact, you never hear about fair share, you never hear about equitable share, you never hear about equal share, you never heard about appropriate share or reasonable share or suitable share, nothing about share. We came up with this thing about we want our fair share out of the CBI returns or CBI receipts or whatever, the sale of our passports. We have to give Mark Brantley, the Honorable Mark Brantley, some credit, because he was the one who championed this particular cause. The only thing you hear about fair share coming out of NRP now is what we did with the money. But they never got any money. They never asked for the money. They were sitting down at the table between 2010 and 2015 when the program was most robust. They had a representative at the table propping up the Labour government in St. Kitts. Never hear them talk about anything to do with fair share. But now it is something that is on their lips every day. Fair share, fair share, fair share. Well, Enapi, you can't take credit for that because you never ever uttered one word about fair share anytime, anywhere, on any platform or any media house prior to us bringing this to the fore. So we'll take credit for that. And whatever we have gotten out of this argument that we have made, whatever we have pursued, it is because we understood the people of Nevis. The people of Nevis must get their rightful share or their fair share out of whatever national proceeds there are. And we felt that a passport was being sold, or is being sold, that says St. Christopher and Nevis. So if it is an asset of St. Christopher and Nevis, it therefore means Nevis must get its rightful share, or its equitable share, or its fair share, however you want to put it. And so we have made this argument and we have had some results. And so when you hear the talk coming out of the NRP, all they have gotten was their fair share was a loan for $4 million for their claim was for lands up there that the Van Samre International Airport would have occupied for over 50 years, because the airport has been there for that particular time. And that is what the NRP went and fought for, a loan. And that is what they got. We have gone and we got some monies for that same water taxi facility, $6 million. And before I go and articulate any further, let me say that prior to 2015, not one soul from Nevis ever occupied a position on the SIDF board. The SIDF was formed or was established, I believe, in 2009. I stand corrected. Someone can correct me. But I believe it was 2009. It was during the time the NRP was there in bed with the Labour Party. And at that time, leading up to 2015, not one soul from Nevis ever sat on that board. But in 2015, we were able to get our lone person the individual who was selected to be on that board was Mr. Leon Lescott. Of course, he was our selectee for that board. And you know, one of the things that he said when we communicated with him in our conversation was that whatever balance there was in terms of funds in the SIDF leading up to the 2015 election, whatever funds were left, they were earmarked for certain projects, and none of those projects were in Nevis. None of them were in Nevis. None of those monies were earmarked for Nevis. So, for example, if there was $100 million left, perhaps $90 million was earmarked for projects in St. Kitts. Well, we said to him, listen, we're going to put together a list of projects that we feel that you should make an argument for the island of Nevis, since we never got anything prior to that other than $4 million loan. That is what the NRP has always given us. We have always gotten the worst out of NRP. Nothing they have said over there in our favor while they were at the table in St. Kitts, because they always said Nevis no want nothing. And that was said, and it was documented that the people who were in Parliament at that point in time on the Labour side were so as to ensure that we have stability in water. We got some so as to ensure that we have stability in water. We got some monies for water as well. Stability in water, electricity, bridging that divide in terms of ensuring that we can get people across the St. Kitts through that water taxi facility, and also the Treasury building. Of course, you recall where the old Treasury building was. Look at that fantastic building down there in Charlestown right now that housed the Treasury, Inland Revenue and the likes, yeah? So that is how we think as a part development over there. We invested $6 million and the NRP is development over there. We invested $6 million and the NRP is up in arms about $6 million, but you don't hear a peep out of them when it comes to Christopher Harbour, where our money, passport money, was used in that particular development. Kittish and Hell down there, millions of dollars, and these people are consuming themselves over a paltry $6 million and making that an issue for their supporters to jump up and make noise about. Yeah, we're seeing the bigger picture. Let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at what we could have had if the NRP was thinking about the island of Nevis, thinking about the people of Nevis, thinking about the development of the island of Nevis. Then they could have been making noise, sensible noise. But instead, old foolish rhetoric we're hearing every day. But when you look at what, I have a report here when it comes to the source and use of cash coming out of that SIDF. I'm not even talking about, now they have the Sustainable Growth Fund. I'm not even talking about that. But this is a report from 2010 to 2015. That's when the NRP was in a coalition with the Labour Party in St. Kitts. When monies were being spent in St. Kitts, whether it is in the private sector or in the public sector in St. Kitts. For example, the PEP, the People Empowerment, Christoph Harbour, $44 million, TDC and OTI, 13.5 million, that's EC dollars, though, eh? And the Royal St. Kitts 8. Listen, all of these entities were in St. Kitts. When you hear about Fresh, when you hear about Reach, Seed, when you hear about all these things, millions of dollars, see there, went to these programs and entities in St. Kitts out of the SIDF. NRP went down and negotiated for a loan of, when all of these millions were barking in St. Kitts, it's like money had mouth, barking down there. Nothing for the island of Nevis. Nothing. And the NRP come in making a case for to whom? I wonder why and how people continue to vote for the NRP. Honestly speaking, why and how? And so when you hear them arguing and making these noise, this foolish rhetoric you're hearing out there, man, take up the documents them and go through them, leaf through them, turn over the pages, look through them for yourself. We can bring some to you. But all of us have the capacity to do the research. All of us have the capacity to listen and pick out sense from nonsense. Because when it comes to fair share was also available to us, under the leadership of the Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley when he was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Nevis had a Minister of Foreign Affairs at the federal level before Mark Brantley. Patrice Nisbet done. Then we had fellow Wallace. As a matter of fact, also Sheldon Henry was up there in New York. And as a matter of fact, as I'll go on with the others, but as I mentioned, Sheldon Henry and Elster, Wilkin and Bristol, both of them were from Gotol. I'm from Gotol too. And up there talent come from. Yeah? Elsa and Bristol and also Sheldon Henry, both of them received their posting under the Honorable Mark Brantley, and both of them from Gotol. I from Gotol too, and I was once the Deputy Premier of Nevis. But we brag and boast coming out of up there because talent has come out of up there in every shape and form. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have gotten our fair share even at the level of foreign affairs, where persons or talented persons from right here in Nevis were posted at missions and embassies throughout the globe. Throughout the globe. And thanks to Mark Brantley, who would have championed these things. So all the noise you make about the Honorable Mark Brantley, he has done more than all of you on the opposite side put together. Because what have you done? Nothing anyway. Nothing. So when you have someone like the Honorable Mark Brantley who goes out there and he sleeps and wake up and think about Nevis and what he can do for the island of Nevis, that is what he has done. Fair share. And when you're talking about fair share, thank the Honorable Mark Brantley, all of you in the NRP, because you all have something to talk about now. Fair share. And so we have gotten it in every possible way that we have gotten some semblance of it. I haven't gotten to the right mixers yet, but we'll get there. But I'll say this further, that when it comes to even at the diplomatic level, diplomacy, where all of these countries, every week you used to hear we sign diplomatic waiver and visa waiver and all kind of things with different countries. That was the work of the Honorable Mark Brantley. Went out and did what he had to do. But the NRP, during their time when they were there in St. Kitts, I can recall, based on the World Bank statistics that I would have seen, $230 million worth of projects would have come into the Federation while the NRP was sitting around the table, in cabinet in St. Kitts, in parliament in St. Kitts. $230 million worth of projects, grant money, free money. Nevis got zero. 85 projects. Nevis got zero under the NRP. NRP is a party of zeros. Zeros. They can't negotiate. That's what it boils down to, you know. They can't negotiate. And if the people of Nevis are looking for a party in government that is going to negotiate for you, that is going to work for you, continue to press on and make sure you have the advantage in your favor, it's going to be the CCM and no one else. And I say that with no water in my mouth. The best leader we have had in this island here up to this point in time, I don't know about tomorrow or next week or next year, next couple of years, but Mark Brantley has shown that he's one of the best. And I say that with no water in my mouth. Why I say that? Those for the NRP has gone and failed. They have run away from the federal level and said they're done with federal election, not contesting anymore. They walk away. Walk away. And the history is there. I don't even have to call their names. You all know who would have been the NRP, who have been the leaders of the NRP up to this point in time. Not talking about the current one, because the current one, in my opinion, I am reminded by someone that the current NRP leader reminds them of Ivor Bird from Antigua. He's now deceased. He had a disc jockey name. His name when he got on the radio was the Silent One. He came on a Saturday morning, played his music, played advertisement, and never uttered a word. So he was dubbed the Silent One. So that's why we're getting out of the current NRP leader, because she don't understand national politics. So she can't comment. She can't commentate. But I can tell you the Honorable Mark Brantley has stood up to every foe and have stood up to every challenge and have demonstrated to us that he is the man that we need at this particular time to continue to press the issues on for the people of Nevis and the island of Nevis. So when he stands up, he has spoken like a champion for the island of Nevis, and that is why we can speak of results. And that is why we can speak of all of these persons who would have been posted all over the globe, because he made sure that Nevis was represented at the federal level and at the international level. I can speak of the regional level as well too, but let's go international, because that's where the embassies are and the missions are, yeah? And that's why he said Nevisions. Whether you're from Hanley's Road, whether you're from Brownhill, whether you're from Brickhill or Goathole, as I said, you have what it takes to represent this federation anywhere, anytime, at any level, and in any circle. And that is why he's a champion, in my opinion. That's why I don't care what they say. Mark Brantley has done what he has to do for the island of Nevis, and he will do more. And we can articulate many more things. But you see, my hour is always short. I probably would have to come here for some more time at some point. But anyway, let me go in my wrap-up phase. But all I'm going to say in parting, that Nevis is in good hands with your Concerned Citizens movement. And all that you're hearing out there, that rhetoric on the side, all that is just fluff. All that is just distraction. All that is just to, let's say, put something out there for the supporters of the NRP to bark about. All I'm saying to the people of Nevis is that this island has come from a point in time when we were experiencing pain, pressure, and poverty. Now you're on a road of progress, on a road where there's substance out there for all of us, and on a road where we can say that Nevis is heading in the right direction, and let us keep it that way. But let me move on and say, listen, I want to see all of you, every one of you who are listening this afternoon here on the island of Nevis, come on over and support this event that we're having on Monday. It is dubbed a medical fundraiser, where we're raising funds to assist persons in the community who are going through some challenges. And as I said, we have identified 4 persons thus far who we will make the contributions to or donations to. And I want to say at this point in time, thanks to all who would have contributed thus far, and those who intend to contribute anything between now and Monday. You can call Amoy Nisbet at 664-1912, or you can call me at 662-5007. We have been pressing on and getting the whole thing together and all of the pieces together so that we can have a good show over there on Monday, and we can make some money so that we can pass on to the assigned recipients. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my quota for today. I believe it's just about 2 o'clock. And like I always say, it is my pleasure to come here on a Friday afternoon and spend my Friday afternoon with you. Hopefully your lunch have been made a bit more embellishing because you were eating and listening to me. So I am now hungry, so I'm going to go and get something to eat myself. But before I go, let me remind folks who go to church on a Saturday, go on out and serve your God. If you go on a Sunday, go and do likewise. Say a prayer for this station, say a prayer for me. Say a prayer for the island of Nevis, the island of St. Kitts, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Pray for God's blessing on the country and a whole and its people, so that we can continue to contribute towards its future development. Have a wonderful and safe week and take care of yourself. May God bless us all. Goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.